www.addtoany.com share. https www.al-islam.org Person Muhammad Jawad Mufnaya. https www.al-islam.org Organization Islamic Seminary. Publications. https www.al-islam.org Print PDF Book Export HTML 188483. https www.al-islam.org Printapub Book Export HTML 188483. https www.al-islam.org Printmobi Book Export HTML 188483. https www.al-islam.org Person Saeed Athar Hussein Shashrizvi. https www.al-islam.org Tags Shia. https www.al-islam.org Tags Early Islamic History. https www.al-islam.org Tags Oppression. https www.al-islam.org Tags Taghut. https www.al-islam.org Tags Al-Bayt. Mailto. Sayed@hotmail.com. Greater Sins, Volume 2. Author S. Saeed Abdul Hussein Dastgab Shirazi. Publisher S. Islamic Study Circle. In this text Ayatollah Dastgab has exhaustively explained the phenomenon of sin, the classification of sins, the necessity of avoiding them. He has described 50 different types of greater sins such as association with God, shirk, fornication, drinking alcohol, gambling, disrespect towards parents and cutting ties with relatives. See also Volume 1 and 3 of this text. Link to Volume 1. https www.alislam.org Greater Sins Volume 1 Saeed Abdul Hussein G. Link to Volume 3. https www.alislam.org Greater Sins Volume 3 Saeed Abdul Hussein G. Get PDF Get EPUB Get Mobi. Translator S. Saeed Athar Hussein Sh. Rizvi. Topic Tags. Sin. Morality. Akhlaq. Dedication. Our sins strike him like arrows. When he examines the scrolls of our deeds, he weeps at our sins. We dedicate the book to this same infallible personality. May Allah hasten his reappearance. Translator's Preface. In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, and benedictions upon the Messenger of Allah and his purified progeny. A. By the grace of the Almighty, the first volume of Greater Sins has been completed in English. The significance of moral science and ethics is evident from the words of the Messenger of Allah s. When he has described the aim of his advent, he said, I have been sent for perfecting the morals. The learned Alim, Ayatollah Dastgab was one of the greatest Mu'allim Ulaqlaq teacher of moral science. Some of his important books are Gunahain Kabira, Qalb Salim, Ma'ad, Barzak etc. His books cover various moral and ethical issues. The book Gunahain Kabira deals with greater sins. Ayatollah Dastgab has exhaustively explained the phenomenon of sin, the classification of sins, and the necessity of avoiding them. He has also described 50 different types of greater sins. Although the English translation is based on the Urdu edition, I have relied upon the original Arabic text. While translating traditions and Quranic verses, since the English equivalents of Islamic terminology do not convey the exact meaning, I have used the Arabic terms. However, those who are not conversant with Arabic words may refer to the glossary of Islamic terms. Wassalam. Saeed Athar Hussein Sh. Rizvi. A short biography of Ayatollah Dastgab Shirazi. Martyr Ayatollah Abul Hussein Dastgab Shirazi was a nobleman from a highly religious family that was known for its intellectual heritage going back to 800 years. Due to religious and spiritual atmosphere resulting from such a sound Islamic background, he had a natural and spontaneous tendency towards acquiring knowledge. After obtaining elementary education in his hometown, he moved towards Najaf al-Ashraf, Iraq, in pursuit of higher knowledge. In the town of the abode of the chief of the believers, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he continued his studies. associating with the various scholars and teachers. Soon his knowledge reached a stage such that he was granted permission by the Maharaja of that time to practice ijtihad. He then returned to his native town of Shiraz. In Shiraz he spent thousands of tumans for the construction of the Jame Masjid Atek, which was in a highly dilapidated condition. There, he began to lecture on the exegesis of the Quran and ethics. His persistent efforts raised the standard of education of the Haus al-Ilmiya of Shiraz in the various fields of fiqh, beliefs and moral science. The irreligious and tyrannical Shah imposed restrictions upon him and he was arrested many times. He was also put under house arrest by the autocratic ruler. After the success of the Islamic Revolution, he was elected a representative at the Majlis Iranian parliament. At the instance of the people of Shiraz he was designated as the representative of Imam Khomeini. The post of Imam of Jame Masjid of Shiraz was also bestowed upon him. Martyr Dast Gabe has left behind innumerable works. The most remarkable of these are Gunahain, Kabira Greater Sins, Qalb al-Salim, Salat al-Kashain, Ma'ad, At-Taba, Zindagani al-Hazrat Zahra, and Zainab al-Kubra. Apart from these he has penned dozens of books on the improvement of morals, fiqh and the exegesis of Quran. Hence, he was an excellent model of spirituality with a lofty character and a loving nature. On that fateful day in the year 1984, as he was proceeding to lead the Friday congregation, he was brutally killed in a bomb explosion by the hypocrites, the capitalist agents. Preface. By the grace of the Almighty we present the second volume of Ayatollah Dast Gabe Shirazi's Greater Sins Gunahain Kabira. Since the publication of the first volume, the readers were eagerly waiting for the second and there were many inquiries. However, since we intended to maintain the same quality there was a delay. We hope the readers find this volume as useful and interesting as the first one. We would like to sincerely thank Sister Zainab Muljani for editing and revising this volume, as she had helped us with Volume 1. May Allah reward her for the long hours she devoted to this work. We also request the readers to pray that Allah A.J. give us the tawfiq to publish the third and the final volume as soon as possible. Islamic Study Circle, Mumbai, India, January 2001. The 16th Greater Sin, Singing. The 16th greater sin is singing songs. Traditions have graded it amongst the mortal sins. This fact is clear from the narration of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, as quoted by Amash. Muhammad ibn Muslim relates that Imam Muhammad al-Baqir said, "Singing is that sin which has been promised a penalty of fire hell by Allah. It is evident from numerous reports that whichever sin incurs hell as its punishment is a greater sin. Singing too falls in that category." What is singing? Saeed Murtada, in his book, Wasila writes, "Singing is haram. It is also haram to listen to a song or to sing for money. However, every melodious sound is not a song. Singing denotes a special way of prolonging the voice and rotating it in the throat. These features are common in sensuous parties. Such type of singing is usually accompanied by music. Most of the Shia Mujtahids and the experts of Arabic language opine that singing means the turning and rotating of one's voice in the throat. These types of strains are invariably found in classical music and qawwalis. A prolonged tune of ayah is produced. In the dictionary, Sahah, it is mentioned that singing is a sound which produces a strange type of sorrow or pleasure in the listener. The other dictionaries almost agree to this definition. In brief, singing or song is a sound that makes a man unusually sad or joyful. The book Zakiratul Ibad says, "Every sound that is produced for entertainment and is capable of exciting passion is known as singing. It could be produced by making it emanate from the throat like in classical music or by any other means. In brief, whatever is understood by common sense as a song is haram. Consequently, it is sinful even to recite the Holy Quran, Nawa or Marsiya, in the tune of songs. In fact, this is more sinful than singing songs, for it tantamounts to insulting and degrading the Quran and Nawa or Marsiya. It is for this reason that this type of sin deserves double the punishment." About singing. 1. Singing is a greater sin. When Imam Muhammad al-Baqir said, "Singing is that sin which has been promised the penalty of fire hell by Allah," he had also recited the following verse of the Holy Quran, And of men is he who takes instead frivolous discourse to lead astray from all his path without knowledge and to take it for a mockery, these shall have an abasing chastisement. Surah Luqman 31, 6. 2. Frivolous discourse implies singing. Bringing together the above verse and the tradition of Imam al-Baqir, singing is understood to be one of the frivolous and evil acts. Other worthless acts are aimless talk or action, or poetry which is of no good to the people. All these deprive man of benefit. In other words, anything that restrains one from following the truth in the Holy Quran is a frivolous discourse. Anything that leads one astray is frivolous discourse. All those things that create passion and sensuality, sin and transgression are frivolous discourse. It is a sin, whether one sings or listens to a song. The Quranic verse quoted above is followed by, "And when our communications are recited to him, he turns back proudly, as if he had not heard them, as though in his ears were a heaviness, therefore announce to him a painful chastisement." Surah Luqman 31, 7. 3. The exegesis tafsir of the term false words. In addition to the phrase, frivolous discourse, the Holy Quran also refers to singing by the term, false words. Abu Basir inquired from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, the exegesis of the following ayat, and avoid false words. Surah Hajj 22, 30. The Imam, replied, it means singing. In explanation to the ayat, and they who do not bear witness to what is false, and when they pass by what is vain, they pass by nobly. Surah Al-Furqan 25, 72. Imam Muhammad al-Taqi, remarked, vain means singing. 1. In yet another tradition, when Muhammad ibn Uthman inquired about the meaning of this ayat, Imam Muhammad al-Taqi, answered, it includes the evil words of one who is singing. 4. False words denote singing. The later portion of the same verse says, and when they pass by what is vain, they pass by nobly. Surah Al-Furqan 25, 72. Thus, according to the Holy Quran, when the righteous people pass by, where songs are being played, they pass in a dignified manner, uninfluenced and unimpressed by them. A similar kind of verse appears in Surah Al-Mu'minun, as well. And who keep aloof from what is vain. Surah Al-Mu'minun 23. 3. Both the above verses describe the qualities of a believer. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and later Imam al-Rida, have both explained the term vain words as follows. Vain words imply music and singing, and the true worshippers of Allah refrain from these. 2. 5. Singing and hypocrisy. The sixth holy Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, said, listening to music, songs and useless words cultivate hypocrisy in the heart, in the same way as algae grows in water. 3. The same book, Al-Kafi, mentions a tradition of Imam al-Sadiq, that singing and music is a nest for the bird called hypocrisy. 6. Singing program. The venue of a singing program is a place where descends divine retribution. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, do not even enter houses, the inhabitants of which are deprived of divine mercy. He, is reported to have also said, the house where music is played is not safe from sudden disasters. Supplications at such a place are not answered. Angels do not enter this place. 4. It has been established in the preceding chapter that when the divine punishment descends, it does not discriminate. The excuse, though we go to places where there is music and song, but we dislike it in our hearts, seems unlikely to be acceptable. Dislike needs to be expressed by one's action, also. Songs and music should be discouraged. 7. Singing causes poverty. Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, says, singing creates hypocrisy and causes poverty. 5. 8. Punishment for singing. The Holy Prophet has explicitly stated, when the singer shall rise from his grave on the day of judgment, he will be blind, deaf and dumb. 6. The traditions also state that the singer will be recognized by these very signs, i.e. blindness, deafness, etc. In another tradition, Holy Prophet is quoted to have said, molten lead shall be poured into the ears of one who listens to songs, intently. 7. Deprived of divine mercy. Qutb al-Rawandi has recorded from the Holy Prophet the singer is from that group of people, who would not be looked upon with mercy by Allah on the day of judgment. A fan of a singer. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, One who respects a speaker, becomes his slave. If the speaker calls towards Allah, the listener worships Allah, but if he calls towards Shaitan, the listener has worshipped Shaitan. 8. It is also narrated from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, that he said, "Whenever a person begins singing, 2 Satans mount on his shoulders and continue to hit their heels upon his chest, till the time he sings the song. Is the one kicked by the Satans to be loved and admired." Melodious sounds of paradise. Hazrat Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida said, "One who avoids songs shall be provided by Allah a tree, which will produce such a melodious sound as has never been heard by anyone. But the one who has not kept himself aloof from songs will not be able to hear this sound." 9. Beautiful songs in heaven. The following tradition of Allah's Messenger is recorded in the book Tafsir Majmal Bayan. One who has listened to too many songs will not be able to hear the Ruhanis on the day of Qiyamah. Who are the Ruhanis, O Prophet of Allah? Someone asked. The Prophet replied, they are the melodious singers of heaven. A similar tradition from Hazrat Ali is found in Najul Balagha. Hazrat Dawud will be the chief of the singers of paradise. 10. The people will listen to such melodious songs from Hazrat Dawud in heaven, the like of which have never been heard by anyone. However, only those who have refrained from listening to songs in this world would be able to hear them. Strict prohibition. The Holy Prophet says, "Calamities will befall my ummah as sinking of the earth and rain of stones." The people asked, when would it happen? When the instruments of music become common, singing girls are in great number and the use of intoxicants is widespread. By Allah, many people of my ummah will be such that they shall spend the night in merry-making and sensuality and in the daytime become like monkeys and pigs. It will be the consequence of considering the prohibited things permissible, they will be occupied with singing girls. Frequently take intoxicants, devour interest and shall dress in clothes made of silk. Singing and fornication. Singing instigates one to commit fornication. The Holy Prophet said, "Singing is the stepping stone to fornication." 11. Songs are responsible for awakening the latent sensual desires of man, which are soon manifested. It is the same whether one sings a song or merely listens to it. He forgets Allah's and is prepared to commit any kind of indecency. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, "And all those wasteful pastimes are haram which make one forgetful of Allah, like songs and playing musical instruments." Yes, music makes one shameless and lacking in self-respect. It also destroys the feeling of love, compassion and mercy, reducing society to a nightmare. Prohibition regarding songs and singing. There is no difference of opinion among the Shia jurists about the illegality of singing. It can be said that there is unanimity upon this point. The writer of the book, titled Mustanad, says, to consider singing and music haram is one of the necessities of faith. That is, if a Muslim says that singing is not haram, then he becomes a kafir. According to the author of Isa, the traditions that state that music and singing is haram are mutawatir, very numerous. However, a slight difference of opinion exists as to the meaning and connotation of the word song. The majority of the Mu'tahids believe that any kind of sound capable of creating a desire for joyful mirth and sensual feelings is a song, and it is haram. Reciting Quran in tune of songs. As we have stated earlier, it is haram to recite Quran in the characteristics of songs. Similarly, it is also haram to recite nawaz, marsiya or azan in this way. It is immaterial whether it is poetry or prose that is being recited. Rather, rendering of the sacred compositions into songs carries double punishments. 1. For the sin of singing songs and the other for causing disrespect to a sacred text. Reciting Quran in a melodious voice. Every melodious sound is not a song. If Quran or Nawa is recited in a pleasant voice without unduly turning it in the throat, it is not haram, rather it is desirable to do so. The Messenger of Allah is reported to have said, "Recite the Quran in a pleasant voice, in the style of Arabs. You are ordered to avoid the transgressors and doers of greater sins. Certainly, such people will appear in the world who will recite the Quran in a singing manner to make the listeners emotional. It is not allowed to go near these people or to call them near you." The hearts of these people have deviated, and those who are influenced by them shall also have their hearts deviated. 12. Pleasant voice and singing. While describing the signs of the arrival of the Day of Judgment, the Prophet of Allah said, "Such kind of people will appear in the world that they would learn the Quran for worldly benefits and will recite it in a singing tune. However, there are many traditions to the effect that reciting the Quran in a pleasant voice is must-have recommended. However, we must ensure that its tone is not that of singing. Singing and music during weddings. Subject to the following 3 conditions, some of the Mujtahids have allowed women to sing on the occasion of marriages. 1. The first condition is that no grown-up men should be able to hear the singing. Not even those who are mahram under the prohibited degree. 2. Secondly, the songs must not be loud and also must not be based on false statements. 3. And lastly, the singing must not be accompanied with any kind of music. A few scholars have permitted playing of the small tambourine. Tambourine is a drum with skin on only one of its sides. Shahid Al-Thani and Muhaqiq Al-Thani say the tambourine could be played in a wedding if it does not have tinkles around it. However, precaution is desirable, and hence on the occasion of weddings also women should avoid singing. The playing of tambourine should also be avoided. Sheikh Al-Ansari R.A. quotes Shahid Al-Thani in the book. Maqasib, and Saeed Murtada says in his book Wasila that precaution is the way to salvation. 1. Refer Amali of Sheikh Tusi and also the book Al-Kafi. 2. Al-Kafi. 3. Al-Kafi. 4. Al-Kafi and Mustadrak ul-Wasil. 5. Mustadrak ul-Wasil, Chapter 78. 6. Jamil Akbar. 7. Mustadrak ul-Wasil. 8. Furu al-Kafi. 9. Al-Kafi. 10. Najul Balaga. 11. Mustadrak ul-Wasil. 12. Wasil ul-Shia. The 17th greater sin. Lying. Lying is another sin which is classified among the greater sins. The famous scholar, Sheikh Al-Ansari R.A. writes in his book, Maqasib al-Muharrama. Common sense suggests lying is haram. All the revealed religions also say so, particularly Islam. The Quran is explicit in this regard. The corpus of hadith opinion of the majority of the jurists verifies this tenet, and reason also sustains this assertion. Lying is listed with the greater sins in the narration of Faisal ibn Shazan from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. A. Lying is one of the greatest sins. A tradition from the Holy Prophet declares, "Beware, I inform you regarding the greatest of the mortal sins. Associating anything with Allah, disobeying parents and lying." 1. A similar tradition has been quoted from Imam al-Hasan al-Askari. Also, all the evils have been locked in a room and its key is lying. 2. Angels curse the liars. The Prophet of Islam in another tradition is quoted to have said, "When a believer utters a lie without a valid excuse, he is cursed by 70,000 angels. Such a stench emanates from his heart that it reaches the sky, and because of this single lie Allah writes for him a sin equivalent to that of committing 70 fornications. Such fornications, that the least of which is fornication with one's mother." 3. Undoubtedly, lying is the worst of sins. It is obvious that the evils of lying are more dreadful than those of adultery. Some false words lead to war between two tribes or two sections of the society. Some lies blight the honor of thousands of people or endanger their lives, or lead to economic disasters. One kind of falsehood is that which is attributed to Allah SWT, the Holy Prophet or the Holy Imams. Understandably, this is the worst kind of falsehood. Often due to lying, innocent people are sent to the gallows and their families destroyed. It is for this very reason that the traditions state, lying is an evil, greater than drinking wine. Quranic verses and ahadith that denounce lying. Allah the Almighty says in Surah An-Nahl, verse 105, "Only they forge the lie who do not believe in Allah's communications, and these are the liars." Surah An-Nahl 16:105. And in Surah Az-Zumar it is mentioned, "Surely Allah does not guide him aright who is a liar, ungrateful." Surah Az-Zumar 39:3. It can be understood from the verses of the Quran that a liar calls for divine curse and invites the anger of Allah SWT. For example, and pray for the curse of Allah on the liars. Surah Ali Imran 3:61. And also, The curse of Allah be on him if he is one of the liars. Surah An-Nur 24. 8. A large number of Quranic verses and traditions condemn the sin of lying and describe its evil consequences. The late Haji Nuri has collected these verses and traditions and classified them into 40 points for easy recalling and reference. We shall quote them for the benefit of our readers. 1. Lying is transgression. Allah SWT says in Surah Al-Baqarah, "There shall be no intercourse nor transgression nor quarreling amongst one another during Hajj." Surah Al-Baqarah 2. 197. The word transgression in this ayat refers to falsehood or lying. Again in Surah Al-Hujurat it is mentioned, "O you who believe, if an evil-doer comes to you with a report, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance, then be sorry for what you have done." Surah Al-Hujurat 49. 6. This ayat was revealed for Walid, who is mentioned as an evil-doer, i.e. a liar. 2. Meaning of the term false words. Along with the prohibition of worshipping idols, it is ordered by Allah SWT to abstain from falsehood, therefore avoid the uncleanness of the idols and avoid false words. Surah Hajj 22. 30. In this verse, false words mean lying. 3. The liar is not a believer. One of the verses quoted above demonstrates that a liar is not a believer and one who is a believer never speaks a lie. The verse pronounces, "Only they forge the lie who do not believe in the signs of Allah." Surah An-Nahl 16. Lo5. For it is clear that one who disbelieves in the divine communications cannot be a mu'min believer. 4. Lying is an evil and a sin. Traditions have mentioned lying as a sin and an evil. For example, Hazrat Muhammad al-Baqir, A. says, "Falsehood is absolutely an evil and a sin." 5. The liar is accursed. The liar is eligible for divine curse and Allah SWT causes his retribution to descend upon him. For example, the curse of Allah be on him if he is one of the liars. Surah An-Nur 24. 8. 6. The blackened face of the liar. The Holy Prophet says, "Beware of falsehood, because falsehood blackens the face." 4. An interesting incident is found in the book, Habib as-Sair. Sultan Husain Mirza, the king of Khorasan and Zabulistan, sent one of his envoys to Sultan Yaqub Mirza, the king of Azerbaijan and Iraq. The envoy carried with him books and other gifts. The sultan had ordered the inclusion of the book Kuliyat al-Jami in the set of books. It was a very popular book in those days. Emir Husain Abiravi, the envoy, in his haste packed the book Futuhat al-Makki instead of Kuliyat al-Jami. On reaching Iraq, he found a hospitable host in the ruler of Iraq. He was asked, "You must have been bored during this long journey." The envoy replied, "Not at all. The Sultan has sent for you Kuliyat al-Jami. So whenever we halted, I read some portions of it and passed my time." Sultan Yaqub was eager to see the book. But, when he ordered for it, it was not found, to the embarrassment of the envoy. The king demanded, "Aren't you ashamed to utter such a lie?" The envoy says, "I left the court ashamed and returned home without a reply to my sultan's letter. I did not even halt or rest during the journey to Khorasan. I felt death would have been better for me, rather than uttering such a lie." 7. Sin of lying is worse than drinking wine. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir says, "Certainly Allah has created the lock for every evil and the key to all these locks is drinking wine. But lying is worse than drinking." 5. Wine disables reason and sense, but lying kills the reason. It makes one so insensate that he becomes ready to commit any kind of satanic act. An alcoholic when under the influence of alcohol is not in his proper senses, and thus it is not possible for him to act with cunningness and treachery. But a liar can cause untold mischief in the society through his cunningness, much more than a drunkard can. 8. The foul-smelling mouth of the liar. It is recorded in a tradition that on the day of judgment the mouth of a liar will give an awful smell. 9. The angels abhor the liars. The smell of a liar's mouth would be so disgusting that even the angels will not go near him. They will keep away from the liars. This is not only for the day of judgment. Even in this world, the angels can smell the foul odor from the mouths of the liars. In a prophetic tradition it is said, when a believer utters a lie, such a bad smell emanates from his mouth that even the angels move away. 6. 10. Lying is disbelief kufr. The Almighty Allah curses the liars, as is evident from the verse of Nubahala 7 and the verse of Lamb 8. A mention about this has been made earlier. 11. The stench from the liar's mouth reaches the skies. 12. It is also recorded that the angels of the sky curse the liars. 13. Falsehood spoils faith. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir says, lying destroys faith. 9. 14. Falsehood deprives the liar from the taste of faith. Imam Ali says, every believer is deprived from the taste of faith till he gives up lying seriously and also in jest. 10. 15. According to traditional reports, lying causes animosity and hatred between people. 16. The vice of lying questions the character of the liar. A tradition of the Prophet says, the least forbearing is the one who is a liar. 11. 17. The traditions from Mazuman inform us that all the evils are locked in a room and the key to that room is lying. 18. Lying is a sin and a transgression. The Holy Prophet is reported to have said, avoid speaking falsehood, because it is a kind of evil and transgression. And both of them belong to hell. They make one eligible for hell. 12. 19. According to other reports, 70,000 angels curse the liar. 20. Lying is a sign of a hypocrite. The following tradition of the Holy Prophet is present in the book of Mustadrak ul-Wasil. The three signs of a hypocrite are lying, betraying trust and going back on his word, not fulfilling a promise. 21. The Islamic Sharia does not pay heed to a liar's advice. In this regard the Holy Prophet remarked, the advice of a liar has no value. 13. 22. Falsehood is the worst of the psychological ailments. Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, says, the disease of lying is the most dreadful of the psychological diseases. 14. 23. Lying is an embellishment of Satan's hands. A narration of the Prophet is as follows. Certainly, Iblis applies antimony surma, wears a ring and uses snuff. His antimony is laziness and dozing, the ring of his finger is lying, and his snuff is pride and arrogance. 24. The worst earning of a man is falsehood. The Holy Prophet says, the worst of the prophet is from the trade called lying. 15. Yes, it is a fact that by lying, a person is liable for punishment more than for any other sin. 25. A man came to the Holy Prophet and asked. A man came to the Holy Prophet and asked which action makes the highest number of people the inmates of hell. The Holy Prophet replied, lying. When a believer speaks a lie, he becomes prone to commit every other sin, and when this happens, he commits kufr, disbelief, which then makes him enter hell. 16. 26. Lying causes forgetfulness. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq is reported to have said, one of the divine punishments for too much lying is that Allah makes the liar afflicted with forgetfulness. 17. Thus a man speaks a lie and then forgets his lie. Consequently people come to know that he has spoken a lie and his falsity is exposed to the people. Now to save his skin he speaks more lies and is insulted further because his forgetfulness does not enable him to hide his false statements. 27. Falsehood is one of the doors of hypocrisy. 28. Terrible punishment for the liars. A liar is inflicted with several kinds of punishments. Akka Rawandi has quoted a lengthy tradition from the Holy Prophet in his book Dawat. The Prophet while describing the spectacle of Miraj ascension, said, I saw a man, who lay flat on his back while an angel mounted his head. The angel who was standing upon the head had a pointed iron rod. He repeatedly injured the sleeping person. The face of the victim was shattered up to the neck, but when the rod was lifted the head returned to its original form. Again the rod was hit on the face and the man suffered the same retribution. The Holy Prophet says that he inquired, why is this man punished? He was told, this is a man who left his home in the morning and uttered a lie that caused harm to the people. So he shall be punished in this manner after death till the day of Qiyamah. 30. The liar is deprived of Salat al-Shab Tahajjud. Salat ul-Layl. The liar is deprived of Salat al-Shab Tahajjud. Salat ul-Layl, and in this way, he is also deprived of the benefits that accrue from Salat al-Shab Tahajjud. Salat ul-Layl, and one of these benefits is the increase in sustenance. Sharifi narrates from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq that he said, doubtlessly, when a man speaks a lie, he is not able to get the opportunity of performing Salat al-Shab Tahajjud. Salat ul-Layl. And when he doesn't get this opportunity to perform Salat al-Shab, he does not get an increase in his sustenance. 31. Falsehood deprives the liar from true guidance and causes him to deviate. The Quran says, "And Allah does not guide the unjust people." Surah Al-Jumu'ah, 62. 5. 32. Politeness and civility are removed from the one who lies. Hazrat Isa ibn Maryam, is reported to have said, "Civility abandons the one who is a frequent liar." 18. Then no one is attracted towards him and no one finds any emotional attachment with him. 33. Falsehood is the most outrageous kind of evil and an abomination. 34. We have proved falsehood to be a greater sin. 35. Lying is poles apart from belief. In fact, a tradition from the Holy Prophet says, falsehood is inversely proportional to belief. That is, when falsehood increases, belief decreases. 36. The greatest sinner is the one who has lied. The Prophet of Allah said, the greatest of the sins is talkativeness and falsehood. 19. 37. The liar is doomed because of the lies that he utters. The Messenger of Allah says, avoid falsehood, for it may appear to be a way of salvation, whereas in reality it leads to destruction. 20. 38. The liar does not deserve friendship and brotherhood. The chief of the believers, Ali, says, every Muslim is supposed to avoid friendship and brotherhood with a compulsive liar. Because one who befriends a liar is himself considered a liar. Even if he speaks the truth, he is not trusted. 21. 39. The liar is kept away from truth and reality. Surely Allah does not guide him aright who is a liar, ungrateful. Surah Az-Zumar 39. 3. Surely Allah does not guide him who is extravagant, a liar. Surah Ghafir, 40. 34. 40. In human form of the liar in Barzakh. The liar has a human form only in this world. In Barzakh he does not retain the human form. While describing the scenes of Miraj, the Holy Prophet told Janab Fatima al-Zahra, on the night of Miraj I saw a woman whose head resembled a pig and her body was like that of a donkey. It was because she spread discord and told lies. 22. Various grades of lying. Although Shahid al-Thani and many other Mu'tahids consider every kind of falsehood to be absolutely haram and a great sin, yet we find in traditions that falsehood is of different grades. Among these different kinds of lies are some that are certainly greatest of the sins and some are among the greater sins. There are also some types of lying, about whom there exists a doubt whether they are greater or not. Let us examine each kind of falsehood. Falsehood against Allah SWT, the Prophet and the Imams. The worst kind of falsehood is what one utters against Allah SWT, the Almighty, His Prophet and the Imams. The Divine Book, Quran says, and, for what your tongues describe, do not utter the lie, saying this is lawful and this is unlawful, in order to forge a lie against Allah. Surely those who forge a lie against Allah shall not prosper. A little enjoyment and they shall have a painful punishment. Surah An-Nahl, 16. 116-117. The sixth holy Imam, Imam al-Sadiq, says, to attribute falsehood to Allah and this holy Prophet is the greatest sin. 23. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, also told Abu Noman, do not attribute falsehood to us. Such a lie will expel you from the upright faith Islam. 24. This means that even if a single falsehood is attributed to the Imams, the light of faith is extinguished from the heart. It is such a serious sin that if one intentionally commits it during the fast of Ramzan, his fast is invalidated. Every type of falsehood, every kind of lie and every method of speaking an untruth is haram. Just as it is haram to speak a lie. With the tongue it is similarly haram to write something false. Even to point a finger in expressing a lie is haram. For example, if a person who does not pray is asked by another, have you performed salat? And he nods his head. This tantamounts to lying and is a sin. Similarly, propagating the words of a liar, while being aware that they are untrue is haram, and so is supporting a liar. Interpreting the Quranic verses and traditions to suit oneself. Attributing falsehood to Allah SWT, the Holy Prophet and Imams, means that one fabricates a saying and attributes it to them. For example, saying that the Holy Prophet S has said such and such thing, while knowing that it is an absolute lie, or to say that such and such is a Quranic verse, when it is certain that it is not a part of the Holy Quran. Similarly, it is haram to distort the apparent and the true meanings of the Quranic verses and traditions to suit one's desire or to prove one's point. Incorrect translation of the holy verses and traditions is also a falsehood. It is not an easy job. It is for this very reason that most people are not eligible to speak from the pulpit. It is not an easy task to translate the ayats and traditions and explain their meanings in the speech. There is a need to exercise utmost caution in such risky situations. One who has not studied the rules of Arabic grammar properly will inadvertently misunderstand the saying of the Holy Prophet S and the Holy Imams. He is bound to err even while explaining the apparent meaning. Therefore the speakers must make it a point to say only the apparent meaning of the ayats and the traditions. They must especially abstain from the exegesis of the ambiguous verses, a kind of falsehood attributed to Allah SWT. An example of this kind of lie is when a lying person, in order to prove his statement, says, Allah is a witness that I am speaking the truth, or, Allah knows that I am saying the truth. There is a saying of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, one who says, Allah knows, whereas Allah does not, i.e. he knows the opposite of it, the heaven. Shudder at the might and the anger of Allah. 25. In another tradition, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq says, when a man says, Allah knows, while what he says is a lie, Allah tells him, didn't you find anyone else to attribute a falsehood to? 26. In some traditions it is mentioned that when a person makes Allah SWT a witness for a falsehood, Allah SWT says, didn't you find anyone weaker than me to be a witness for your falsehood? Falsehood against the Prophet S and Imams. It implies fabricating a tradition and then attributing it to the Holy Prophet S or the Imams. In the same way it is haram to knowingly propagate a weak tradition. However, if one is sure of the proper references, then he can quote the tradition and attribute it to the Mazuman. Traditions must be quoted with the chain of narrators. Numerous traditions are found in the books and one is not sure whether they are authentic or not. In this case one can give the name of the narrator and also provide the title of the book as reference. However, one must be certain that the tradition is not against the Zururiyat ad-Din, the necessities of faith. If there is anything against the basics of the principles of religion, it is most certainly a fabricated tradition. Similarly, there must not be any sort of disrespect to the Mazuman, nor should the tradition be against reason. Lastly, as a precautionary measure, one must quote only from the reliable books. The fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, has said, and do not quote a tradition except from a reliable authority, otherwise you will fabricate a great falsehood, and falsehood debases you in the sight of Allah and His creatures. 27. The sermon of Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, at-Harith al-Hamadani also contains the following advice. Do not quote everything circulating among the common people. It suffices to be a falsehood. 28. Hence, whenever quoting a tradition, it is necessary to mention its source. Not a single word must be deleted or added, and not even a single word must be replaced, because in all such cases it would amount to attributing falsehood to the Mazuman. The Honorable Prophet S is reported to have said, one who attributes something to me, which I have not said, shall sit in the fire. 29. Aka Nuri writes in his book Darus Salam, a person came to Aga Muhammad, Ali, a pious scholar and author of the book Magame, and said, I dreamt that I am tearing at the flesh of Imam Hussein, with my teeth. What is the interpretation of this dream? Aga Muhammad, Ali pondered a while and then said, you must be a preacher, relating the tragedies Maseb. The man replied in the positive. Aga Muhammad, Ali told him, either you give up this profession or quote only from reliable books. Another similar anecdote is recorded in the book, Shifa Sudur. A preacher was reciting a majlis in the presence of Ayatollah al-Hajj Muhammad Ibrahim Kalbasi. He was saying that Hazrat Imam Hussein said, Zainab, O Zainab. Upon hearing this, Ayatollah Kalbasi loudly exclaimed, may Allah break your mouth. Imam did not say Zainab twice, he had said it only once. 1. Relating the contents of the narrations. However, it is permitted to render the import of traditions in one's own words, but it is a must that the speaker should be well versed with the Arabic language and also be capable of understanding the usage. Thus, it is allowed to relate the contents of the tradition in one's own words. When it is not disrespectful to the Mazuman, poetry could be rendered into prose and vice versa. In the same way, the past event could be quoted in the present tense. For example, if one intends to say that a person came to Imam A and said, he could say, a person comes to Imam A and Imam A tells him. However, the audience should be aware that what is being related in the present tense has actually passed. In the same way, if the traditions say that Imam A has prohibited something, the speaker could say, Imam A said, do not do it. Single quote. 2. False oath and avoiding testimony. Another grade of falsehood is a false oath, false evidence, and escaping from testifying in an Islamic court. This type of falsehood is also confirmed as a greater sin. Each one of these shall be described in detail in the following pages. 3. The evil effects of falsehood. To lie is surely a great sin, with obvious evil effects, due to the harm it can cause others. The more harmful a lie, the more serious is the sin associated with it. For example, a lie causing monetary loss is definitely less serious than the one that causes loss of a human life. 4. Lying in jest and pleasantry. Lying in jest is another kind of falsehood. For instance, telling a simpleton that a certain lady wants to marry you, or that person has invited you for dinner tonight, when actually there is no truth in it. This type of falsehood is also haram, is proved conclusively from the traditions. Certain mujtahids opine that if something untrue is said in jest, and it is clearly understood to be a joke, then it is permitted. However, other mujtahids regard even a falsehood in jest to be absolutely haram, whether it is an apparent joke or not, as a precautionary measure. The traditions also confirm that lying, even in jest, is not permitted. Total abstinence from lying. Hazrat Imam Zain al-Abidin says, avoid falsehood, whether it is small or big, in solemnity or jest. 30. Hazrat Amir al-Mu'minin said, no man can taste faith till the time he completely forgoes lying, in solemnity and in jest. 31. It is also related from Amir al-Mu'minin that he said, there is no merit in falsehood, whether in seriousness or in jest. Do not even promise your child something if you do not intend to fulfill it. Certainly, falsehood leads man to sin fearlessly, and this leads to the fire. 32. The Holy Prophet in his advice to Abu Dhar al-Ghafari says, O Abu Dhar, one who protects his private parts and his tongue shall enter paradise. One who utters a small falsehood in company of people to make them laugh, that same lie shall take him towards hell. O Abu Dhar, woe be upon the one who speaks falsehood to make people laugh. Woe be upon him, O Abu Dhar. One who remains silent will obtain salvation. Then silence is a must for you in place of falsehood. Not even the smallest lie should be uttered by you. Abu Dhar says that he asked, O Messenger of Allah, what is the repentance of the one who has intentionally spoken a lie? The Holy Prophet replied, the sin shall be erased by istighfar, seeking forgiveness, and by the 5 times prayers. 33. The Prophet of Allah is quoted to have also said, curse be upon the liar if he has lied in jest. It is also narrated from the Messenger of Allah that he remarked, I guarantee a house in the best part of paradise for one who refrains from a dispute even when he is on the right, and a house in the medium great area of heaven for one who refrains from falsehood even in jest, and a house in the garden of paradise for a person with the best morals. 34. Lying in jest is a sin, but it is not a greater sin. However, if this joke hurts the feelings of a believer or causes him physical harm or is an insult to him, it will be a greater sin. Exaggeration is not falsehood. Common hyperboles in a conversation are not falsehood. For example, after relating a certain thing, one says, I have told you 100 times. Obviously, he has not repeated his statement 100 times, and it is also clear that by 100 he does not imply the figure 100, but rather it means that he has said it a number of times. Similarly, other figures of speech are also permitted, especially in poetry. No falsehood should be regarded as insignificant. It is commonly seen that when the host asks his guests to stay on for dinner or lunch, the guests say, "We are not hungry," although in reality it is not so. Consequently, it is a lie. People tend to ignore such lies and consider them insignificant. The traditions denounce them in unequivocal words, and their prohibition is clearly established in the Islamic law. Asma bint Umayy says, "On the first night of Aisha's wedding, the Holy Prophet gave me a bowl of milk and told me to give it to the ladies. The women said, 'We are not hungry.' When the Holy Prophet heard this, he said, 'Do not bring together hunger and falsehood.' Asma asked the Prophet, O Messenger of Allah, if we desire something but verbally refuse it, is it a lie?" The Holy Prophet said, "Yes, certainly every kind of falsehood is recorded, in the scroll of deeds, even the smallest of the small lies is written." 35. If a person, just for the sake of formality, invites others, "Please come and visit us sometimes," when he actually does not desire so, it is not a lie. Because the word come is conditional and uncertain. It is neither a truth nor a falsehood. But it is better to refrain from such a show of politeness, because to say something which you do not mean is a sign of hypocrisy. One day, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was seated with his son Ismail when one of his followers arrived, saluted him and sat down. When the Imam stood up and walked towards the ladies' portion, the man also followed till the door. Imam bid farewell to him from there. Later, Ismail asked his father, "Why didn't you invite him inside just for the politeness sake?" Imam al-Sadiq said, "It was not proper to invite him inside. I did not wish him to come inside. Neither did I wish that Allah should include me among those who say one thing and wish another." 36. A false dream. One type of falsehood is that a person says, "I dreamt such and such," or attributes falsely a dream to someone else when it is not so. This is also falsehood. The Holy Prophet says, the worst types of falsehood are three. To call someone as the son of someone other than his real father. To relate a dream that one has not seen. To say something which is not said by me. One kind of falsehood is to relate folk tales, which are not based on reality but are considered true. The Holy Prophet says, the worst of the narrations is to narrate false history. Falsehood in examples. Examples are used to explain, understand and remember some intellectual concepts. Sometimes, animals are shown as conversing among themselves. For example, there is a poem by Allama Iqbal, where a squirrel advises the mountain to give up pride. Now everyone knows that such things are not possible, so there is no risk of anyone having a misunderstanding. On the other hand, they serve a useful purpose. Hence such examples are permitted. We find such types of examples in the narrations of al-Bayt. Moreover, there are also narrations that prove the permissibility of explaining facts and truthful concepts through the media of stories and anecdotes. Imam al-Hasan mentions a simile. Hazrat Imam al-Hasan was in the court of Muawiyah when a man said something uncivil about Imam. Imam al-Hasan replied, "O Umar ibn Uthman, how stupid is your nature that you cannot understand. Your simile is like the mosquito that considered itself great. It perched on a date palm, and when it took off in the air it said to date palm, 'Be careful, I am about to land on you once more.'" The tree replied, "I don't even know since when you had perched upon me, so how can your flying away affect me?" Listening to a lie is haram. It must be known that just as it is haram to speak falsehood, it is also haram to listen to it while knowing that it is a lie. And just as it is haram to read or write falsehood, it is also haram to quote a lie. The Quran has denounced the Jews and the polytheists for spreading untrue things. It is said regarding them, they are listeners of a lie. Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:42. Sheikh Saduq R.A. has recorded that Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was asked, "Is it allowed to listen intently to a liar?" Imam replied, "One who listens intently to a speaker worships him. If the speaker is speaking from Allah, the listener has worshipped Allah. But if the speaker is speaking from Satan, the listener has worshipped Satan." A similar kind of tradition is recorded from Imam Muhammad al-Baqir in the book Al-Kafi. The Quran says, "And avoid false words." Surah Hajj 22:30. And also, and they who do not bear witness to what is false. Surah Al-Furqan 25:72. These types of verses confirm the impermissibility of listening to falsehood. When a liar is speaking a lie, which is a great sin, the place where he commits this sin becomes a place of divine wrath, and the listener shall also be included in it. From the aspect of Nahi Anil Munkar, forbidding evil also, it is wajib to restrain the liar from speaking falsehood. What is Toriyah? Concealment of truth without uttering a lie. Toriyah means to say something, which could be interpreted in more than one way. One of the meanings should be the truth and the other against reality. It is said that one who speaks a Toriyah intends the true interpretation, whereas the listeners take it to mean the opposite. For example, if a tyrant comes to your place and wants to call you outside but you want to remain in the safety of your home, a person from your family can go to the door and say, "He is not here," with the intention the he is not at the door. The tyrant may think that you are not at home. This is permitted. Or if an oppressor is asking you the whereabouts of a person whom he intends to oppress. In this case, you can say, "I do not know his whereabouts," signifying by the pronoun his, someone else whose whereabouts you really do not know. In the same way, if one has committed a greater sin and someone asks him, "Have you committed this sin?" the person could save his honor by saying, "I shall seek forgiveness from Allah SWT if I ever committed it." Similarly, he may use uncertain terms or rhetorical sentences. For example, he may say, "Do you expect me to commit such a grave sin?" Or he can also say the following prayer, "O Allah, protect me from such a sin." Also, if you have pointed out somebody's fault and he feels bad about it, there is no need to utter a lie and say, "You do not have this fault." What can be said to pacify instead is, "Your personality is such that it is wrong to say such things about you." Toriyah is commanded. Toriyah is of three kinds. First type. The first type is when some purpose has to be achieved or there is a risk of some harm. These types of examples are quoted above. It is apparent that such a kind of Toriyah is permitted. Second type. The next type of Toriyah is when a person intends to harm or insult someone else. There is no doubt that such a kind of Toriyah is haram. Third type. The third type of Toriyah is when there is neither a purpose behind it nor one intends to cause harm to others. According to some Mujtahids, this type, Toriyah, is haram. This is because Toriyah is a kind of a falsehood, and whatever proofs exist for the prohibition of lying could also apply for this type of Toriyah. Secondly, there is nothing to prove the legality of this third type of Toriyah. However, some of the Mujtahids are of the opinion that this kind of Toriyah is not haram. For according to them all, those proofs that permit Toriyah were also applicable to this type, and hence it is not a lie. However, the precautionary method is to resort to Toriyah only when it is certain that it permissible. Circumstances when lying is permitted. Whenever there is a danger to life, honor and property, and if the danger can be avoided by lying, one is allowed to lie. The danger could be to one's own life, honor and property, or to that of someone else. So much so that it is also permitted to take a false oath in this situation, and in some cases it even becomes wajib, obligatory, to speak a lie, e.g. when there is risk to one's life. In this case, it is wajib to save oneself by lying and taking a false oath. For example, if an oppressor intends to kill a Muslim or to beat him up, dishonor him, seize his property, or imprison him, and if he inquires from you of his whereabouts, it is obligatory not to tell the truth, even if one has to take a false oath and say that one does not know of his whereabouts. In the same way, if someone entrusts a thing in your possession and another intends to seize it, it is your duty to protect the entrusted thing, even if you have to resort to falsehood or take a false oath. False oath to save the Muslims. There are many traditions that support the taking of a false oath in order to save the Muslims. For example, Sheikh al-Ansari in his book, Maqasid, quotes from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and Imam Ali, that they have narrated the following tradition of the Holy Prophet S. The Holy Prophet S says, "Swear falsely by Allah, but save your Muslim brothers from unjust murder." Ismail ibn Sa'd records a confirmed tradition, wherein he says that he asked Imam Ali al-Rida, concerning the person who takes a false oath to save his property from an unjust ruler. Imam al-Rida replied, "There is no harm in it." He was again asked, if a man takes a false oath to save the property of his believing brother, just as he had sworn falsely to save his own property, is it allowed? Imam said, "Yes, it is allowed." 37. Also Hazrat Imam Jafar al-Sadiq says, if one is compelled to take a false oath to save the life of a Muslim or to save his property from an oppressor or a thief, not only is the expiation of this false oath not payable but he would rather be eligible for divine rewards. Monetary loss and falsehood. 2 points must be remembered at this juncture. One is that even though it is permitted to lie to save oneself from every type of monetary loss, yet it is mustahab recommended not to lie if one is capable of bearing the loss. Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, says, the sign of belief is that one speaks the truth even if it causes loss and refrains from a lie even if it is beneficial to lie. 38. If one is compelled he must limit himself to Toriyah. Another important point is that in situations where the Mu'tahids have permitted Toriyah it is best not to use falsehood, but limit oneself to Toriyah only. Reconcile two believing people by using falsehood. Imam Jafar al-Sadiq said, speech is of 3 types, truth, falsehood and reconciling people. Someone asked, may my life be sacrificed for you? What is reconciling people? Imam replied, you hear someone speaking ill about somebody but you tell the other person that the former was saying good things about you. 39. Conveying a message of ill will. In fact, one is ordered to resort to lies if by doing so, one can bring about reconciliation between two people. One who brings about such reconciliation shall not be termed a liar. Because if the message of ill will is communicated from one to other, it will only increase enmity between the two. In the same way, if a husband and wife have separated and divorce is about to take place, one is allowed to speak a lie if it can bring about a reunion. For example, the husband could be told, your wife is very much troubled by the separation. She has such intense feelings for you that she may fall ill. Or the wife may be told similar things so that they may reunite. Reconciliation among people. The Holy Prophet has said, after the fulfillment of wajib acts, the best action is to bring about peace and reconciliation among people. This is such an act that spreads goodness in the world. Amir al-Mu'minin, Ali, said that the Holy Prophet has said at the time of recording his will and testament, O